Murdorf and the Mortal Flaw, Book 1, Chapter 35, The Potter. The water splashed upon Blaze's legs as Windsor travelled down the stone-paved road alone in the rain. He needed to be alone to think. Travelling down the road, he saw an old and faded white and green sign advertising a pottery shop. He had always enjoyed watching the art of pottery, finding it relaxing to his mind. Sliding off Blaze, he walked into the studio. At first, Windsor couldn't see a thing as he entered the dimly lit building. The only light in the studio was what shone through the window. After his eyes adjusted to the faint light, he began to observe numerous pieces of eye-catching pottery, shelved and marketed for a purchaser. Some pieces were small, some large, some etched with various designs, and some painted. None of them were alike. Windsor walked into the room and saw the potter at the right in an open side room where he was working with clay. The old gray-haired man looked to be immersed in his work, forming and shaping the clay. Lying beside the basin of the wheel was a large brown dog with shaggy hair. It seemed friendly, wagging its tail. The potter never looked up, keeping his eyes on the clay. Spying a rickety wood seat to the right, Windsor sat down and observed the potter's craftsmanship. Not wishing to disturb the man, he remained silent. In the dim light, Windsor watched as the slim potter fashioned the mound of pliable clay on the wheel. He observed the potter pressing his hands into the center of the wheel, working it as it spun around on the wheel, forming a center to the lump. Dipping his hands in a tub of water, the potter cupped his hands and then pushed the clay in and pressed his fingers in the center and pulled it out again. Next, he moistened his hands again and placed them on the outside of the clay, smoothing its surface as it spun round and round on the wheel. A slight mist of clayish water flew from the wheel, splattering onto the potter's dirty apron and the stained wood floor. Soon the lump of clay took on the shape of an urn. Perfecting the inside, the potter worked the sides, smoothing them as his hands moved from bottom to top as he formed a lip around the top. The potter scraped the pot from the wheel, grabbing a small hooked tool, and drew a symbol on the bottom of the urn. Having finished, the potter stopped his wheel. With his head still bent down, he spoke for the first time. "Old man, many are your life experiences, but beware of using your past for reference to your future decisions. Beware, death is chasing after you." "Well, it doesn't take a prophet to see that I'm an old man with many life experiences, and that death is closing in on me," said Windsor. The slender old prophet looked up from the wheel. He looked directly at Windsor with a blank stare, black holes bound to the shadows of darkness. Windsor was taken back. One eye was a hole of flesh where the left eye had once been. The other eye was glassed over, as though it had been painted with a thick coat of glaze. Windsor, stunned to see that the potter was blind, was now shaken by the old man's words. "Death. Soon? God knows I'm old enough, but—" Windsor's mind drifted off, wondering how he was going to die. The potter felt for his cane and took hold of it. Rising, he walked towards a shelf of pottery. Picking up a finished clay jar sitting on the shelf labeled "For Sale," he intentionally dropped the piece. The pot shattered at his feet. The noise frightened the dog, and it skittishly darted to the other side of the room. Shards of pottery scattered across the floor. The potter spoke. "Beware of an old friend. He might be the death of a dear friend, if not you yourself," said the potter. Then the potter looked directly at him, as though he knew right where Windsor stood and his exact height, as that he were looking in his eyes. "Don't take it to heart," he continued. "Know that it is a rash decision. Like the pot, you can't fix it." "How can I prevent this friend, as you call him, from harming another?" Windsor asked. "The great gift of free will is sometimes a great curse when in the clutches of temptation and fear. Prevent it, A narrow margin lies between his sword and another. It is a matter of going left or right. And my death? Inquired Windsor. Inevitable, said the blind prophet. A door separates you from life and death. Shaken by these words from the blind old prophet, Windsor stood silently for a moment. He absorbed the words. Then he laid a coin down beside the wheel and hastily walked out the door. As he rode back to Fletcher's home, he pondered the words of the old prophet, as well as the past events, and how Fletcher had risked his life to save his. Fletcher. Maybe he blames me for losing his leg. I am surrounded by many old friends. I have friends who go way back. Which one would betray me? He continued to weigh possibilities as the conversation within his head went on. Don't take it to heart. Well, why would I? I ought to be used to this by now. It's not like I haven't been betrayed before. He rubbed the scar across his face. Windsor didn't have the answers, but he knew if he didn't get a revelation of it, he would find out the meaning in time. He wondered what death would be like. That, too, he reasoned, he would find out in time. After a week in Gallirod, the rain finally stopped and the sun shone through, drying out the mud. As they left the city, Windsor was still giving a weighty thought to the potter's disturbing prophecy. He hated the thought of dying.